Thank you for staying with us. Come Saturday, March the 11th, Nigerians will again head to the polls to vote for governorship candidates of their choice, as well as state houses of assembly members. 29 states out of the 36 will be participating in the exercise, where all of the incumbent governors are seeking re-election for a second term in office. Epic battles are expected in states like Lagos, Ogun, Oyo, Rivers, Delta, Benue, Abia, and Enugu states, where heavyweights will slug it out at the ballot. With the results from the presidential election that saw a shift in voting patterns in different states of the country, many are of the opinion that the governorship poll might also produce some interesting outcomes. But joining us from our Abuja studio is the head of the Department, Public and International Law, Nile University, Dr. Siraju Yakubu. Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning. Thank you for having me in the studio today.
Right. And via Zoom, we have public affairs analyst, Alester Wilcox. Alester, good morning. It's good to have you on the program this morning. Can you unmute yourself, Alester? Alester, can you?
Yes, yes.
Right, we can hear you now.
I'm sure you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you now.
You can hear me?
Sure, we can hear you now.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Right. Let me begin with you, Alester. There are persons who say that the March the 11th elections, they are not sure that they mention how it would take, because of what we saw during the presidential election, a shift from what we have always known. And there are those who are saying perhaps we would see something similar or something different, because there are those who are not satisfied with the outcome of the elections, that there might be protest votes, and there are those who are saying perhaps some persons might just not turn out to vote that come Saturday. What do you see playing out?
Well, thank you. I cannot read your mind properly, but I don't know what they see that you are talking about or what they didn't see. Maybe if you expect that your candidate will have been declared winner in the elections and he was not declared winner, or is that what you saw, or is it this frivolous talk about election rigging and election non-rigging? Is that what they are seeing? For me, I think Saturday election will go down in the annals of Nigerian history as a replica of June 12, 1993 election. In all ramifications, it's unfortunate that in this country, the moment you don't win, you raise all the dust you can raise without a proper analysis of what will have affected your either winning or non-winning. So I am aware of the noise and the cacophony of various voices that is going on among supporters of some parties, talking about election being rigged, their candidate being rigged out. And you see these people who was making this noise. These are even people that won in the place they're not supposed to win. And then where they're not supposed to win, they lost. And then you are not saying the election was rigged and all that. So if that is what they are saying, then too bad. Because I am totally adverse to what anybody is saying. I don't work for INEC. I do not know the INEC's preparedness for this election. But as far as I'm concerned, where I voted and what I saw around me, I think this election is a replica of June 12, 1993 election in all ramifications. Now, if anybody feels disappointed by the fact that, or maybe his or her candidate did not win, and so that will create an apathy, it's so unfortunate because it is your right. I'm seeing that come Saturday, Nigerians will still troop out. Those who are disappointed, those who are happy, will still troop out to go and vote, because that is the only civic responsibility you have. And I'm seeing new tweets, new internet, new messages. Oh, let's go out and make a statement again. Yes, it's good for democracy. So don't sit back and expect that the change you are looking for will come just on a platter of gold. No, go out there and vote. And it also gives the politicians, the governors, like the ones you mentioned, those returning governors or those new governors more ample opportunity to see that the pattern of voting have changed. The patterns have changed. The dance step has changed. And so you need to step up. And that's why the 2 weeks interval that you have, you use it to campaign, reach out to people, make new bridges, and see how you can take it from there.
All right, Dr. Yakubu, let me bring you into this conversation now. Since 2011, we've been talking about the third force, and somehow it seemed like it was going to kick off, but it didn't kick off. The next election, it was the same thing. Next election, it was the same thing. But this time around, we have seen a deviation, a shift from the two-legged political parties we always had, the ruling party and the main opposition party. We've seen a third force really taking place now, where in such a way that already they've made statements in some of the elections that have taken place, you know, securing some Senate seats, securing some House of Representatives. Now, do you see this third force coming to stay? And do you see this as part of, or what will be part of our political culture going forward?
Actually, a third force in democracy is always good, like we have in other countries. For example, if you take the United Kingdom, we have the two main political parties, that is the Conservative and Labour, and then you have the Lib Dem and even UKIP at the fourth force. In Nigeria, we have seen Labour, for example, being the third force. But unfortunately, I don't think it will come to stay because of the pattern that the dimension the whole thing took. Because if you look at the voting pattern, those who voted for Labour are almost where the candidate I came from. Unlike the PDP and the APC, where you have balance. For example, in the north, there was somehow the two major parties slug it out, sharing the votes among themselves. So there's no lopsidedness in the voting pattern. There's something in the southwest, for example. So I don't think any arrangement that is along ethnic and religious line can last, and that's not what Nigerians desire. So even if we are talking about a third force, we need a third force based on national unity, another party that will galvanize every section of the country, just like the APC and the PDP. And I think I don't know, probably in the future, if another candidate, somebody will rise and a politician will provide that third force. But again, going forward, this week, I don't think the outcome of the 25th February election, that the presidential election and other elections, will affect the gubernatorial election, because I know there are two different elections. People see, especially in the states, see gubernatorial election as a local election where they have interest. So the people, especially voters across the country, may have different interests when it comes to the presidential and House of Assembly, the National Assembly elections, and they have different interests when it comes to the state and gubernatorial election and House of Assembly election in the states. And whether there will be good turnout or better turnout than that of last 2 weeks is a matter, or is a function of how politicians try to mobilize their supporters to go and vote. And even the low turnout, I don't want to ascribe it to voter apathy completely, because I think the measures taken by the federal government and the INEC in sanitizing the election has helped a lot. In giving credibility to the election. I know previously the votes actually cumulatively were higher than that of the last 2 weeks. But you can see that the introduction of beavers helped in preventing rigging. And so the higher numbers in the past could have been, rigging could have been responsible for them. And again, the cashless policy that was just introduced, I think, went a long way in helping the system, because there was no cash to bribe people, from voters to even other stakeholders, such as the election official, to rig the election. So even if we don't see much higher turnout, I don't think, I don't want us to ascribe it to voter apathy, but generally, I want to believe that the gubernatorial election will experience even a higher turnout because of the local interest, like I said.
All right. Alastair, let me bring this question to you now. We saw the G5 governors of the PDP, how they threw their weight behind other presidential candidates, aside the presidential candidates of their party. And now the question for some persons is how they'll be able to garner that support from perhaps other parties that they supported, if that will happen at the end of the day for them, for those seeking a second term, especially leading up to the governorship poll.
Well, before I take that, let me just quickly broach this issue of thought force. I think we've always had thought force.
Yeah.
From 1999, when we started this democracy, we had three major parties that had strong influence, although two had national spread. One is more regional. We have the AD, which was more regional. We had the APP, had the national spread. We had the PDP, had the national spread. Even build up to 2011, we still had the third force. We had the CPC, who also gathered a lot of influence from the north, and then we had the APP, AMPP, then we have the PDP. Now, maybe we become shrink in 2015 when the other three collapsed into one for us to have those two. So there has always been the third force. And Labour, this is not the first time Labour parties win election. Remember, on those states, under Mimiko, Labour Party swept the entire polls under Mimiko, even had Senate seats. So it's not a different thing. It's not different. CPC have had senators and the governors. So it's not a different thing. Now, with respect to your question, the G5, yes, they took a political gamble, and some of them had paid dearly for it. For instance, Ikpeazu paid for it. He wasn't re-elected. He wasn't elected to the Senate. Otong paid for it. He wasn't elected to the Senate. The man from Enugu, Ugwani, also paid. He was not elected to the Senate that he wanted to go. Sheyi Makinde, well, let me say it's here and not there, because he was not able to get any Senate seats for your state. That is the PDP. I mean, I'm sure they are coming on two fronts. Presently, only Governor Wike, who is not on the ballot, that is still like riding high on the fact that he can still turn things around. Well, just like my other co-panelists has just talked about, governorship election is more local. And the interest exhibited in the presidential election might not necessarily find its way in local election. Let me also give you an example. Remember, before now, ABGA in Anambra has never won a National Assembly seat. All National Assembly seats in Anambra has always been won by either the PDP, and then the last time YPP came into the mix. This election, despite the fact that the Labour Party was sweeping Anambra State with respect to the presidential vote, they didn't win any Senate seat. I don't think they won any Senate seat. I think ABGA won one, YPP still won one, and then I think another party, I don't know if it was LP that won. LP only won in Enugu. So every time there is a gubernatorial election, there is a House of Assembly election in Anambra, ABGA has always swept it, despite the fact that they have never won National Assembly election. So elections are local for the governorship election. And so interests are different. I don't see the tsunami that played out in Lagos in the presidential election to play out in the governorship election. I don't see it playing out. Not to take any to chances. Not to take anything to chances. And I'm saying this for the third time. Not to take anything to chances. But I do not see critically what played out in on February 25th in Lagos to play out. And I'll give you a few reasons.
Right.
Now, the combination of forces against the APC in the presidential election might not be the same group of forces that will combine in the governorship election. One of the major factors, one of the major forces that worked against the APC was the Christian community. The Christian community really joined force with other persons to vote against APC in the presidential election. And of course, coming to governorship election, that will not happen. Because of course, the interests are different. The interest they had in the Christian community, I'm a Christian, although I wouldn't say I'm part of that group, but the interest that they exhibited everywhere, the preachings that they gave in the churches will not work this time around. Because at least Sanwo-Olu is part of, Governor Sanwo-Olu is part of, it's also a Christian and it's also part of the mix. So that will not be played out, but not to take anything for chances. And I also don't see where Governor Wike will fold his arm in Rivers State and allow part to slip out of his hand. This is the only chance he had. And other states too, it will be a run for money, even in Oyo State. Yes, Governor Makinde might not be too popular. There are forces against him. Some of his supporters, some of his close aides, and some of those his benefactors, talking about Ladoja and other persons, they are no longer in good terms with him. So, but it will be a good fight. It will be a very straight fight. It's not even because of his being a member of G5. It's going to be a straight fight because of the forces that have built up against him. So, and that will also replicate in other states. And I don't see a PDP winning Katsina in the governorship election. So there are so many factors that will come to play. Not even in Borno, no, not even in Yobe. I don't see a PDP winning in Yobe, because the Yobe has been traditionally, some people have been saying about what happened in Yobe with respect to why the PDP won in Yobe. Those sentiments are very right. But in this government election, I don't see PDP winning Yobe. It has never happened before, and it will not happen this time around. So those are the local nature of the elections. There are places where there will be upset. I'm not sure where Abia will go. I'm seeing LP making way in Abia because of the candidates of the LP who has jumped from one party to another just to realize his ambition. But now that LP has some momentum, so I might see LP making an upset to PDP in Abia, in Abia. But I don't see that happening in most other states. Edo is not on the ballot, so I don't see any upset. Okay, Delta is on the ballot. I also don't see LP making any significant upsets in Delta and all that. So these are some of the areas. Not to talk of Cross River. I also don't see LP winning a governorship seat in Cross River. I'm not thinking things, but I'm only looking at it at the surface because of the calibers of people and the local nature of governorship election with respect to our national politics.
All right, Dr. Yakubu, let me bring you in here. Now we saw let me also rest on this G5 before we move somewhere else. We saw the G5 had consistently carried the agitation forth, and we saw that they succeeded in the havoc that they caused for their political party. However, one would say if you are in one party and you're not going to support members of that party, it is interpreted as anti-party. Would you read what they have done to their own political parties as anti-party in the context that we know it?
Well, it could be because, just like you said, if you're in a party, it is expected that you are supposed to support all the candidates, irrespective of the outcome of the primary election, because naturally there will be only one flag bearer per seat in a party. So what is expected of all others is to queue behind the ones that was successful for them to help their party, in the polls. This is usually the experience with traditional institutions. Once there's an election of the successor of a deceased emir, obi, or oba, then other royals will immediately, support the one elected. So doing otherwise, of course, it will be termed as anti-party. So what the G5 have done, the G5 governors have done actually is anti-party. But whether the PDP, was able to, sanction them, because usually when there's anti-party, there's a sanction. But looking at the caliber of the governors, probably PDP didn't want to, take that move so that it will not rock its vote completely.
All right, earlier you spoke about the politics of the governorship being local, and you also mentioned the factor that the Christian community influenced the presidential election. But there are those who are still saying that these interests are still going to play in the governorship elections. There are those who are already riding on that. For instance, the Labour Party, there are those who have said that the party is already garnering, its support base across the state to see how they can leverage on their winning the state at the presidential level, which has never happened before. Alessa, are you there?
Yes, sorry, I'm here. Sorry.
All right.
Sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, thank you very much. I didn't want to mention all the other factors that played. There are about 3 major factors that played out in Lagos. One is the Southeastern Igbo community. Of course, Obi is from there. So that has been, this is a group that has always been a PDP strong pillar as far as Lagos politics is concerned. Now, you have the NSAS group. Remember, Lagos was the epic center of the NSAS. And Obi was propelled by this group. That is the group that propelled Obi. And through social media, made him popular. Now, that's a major group. Then the Christian community. These are the 3 major. Then, when I talk about the NSAS group, it includes the young, fresh, new voters. And also a lot of corporate guys, young guys who are in the corporate world. I know in my office where I work, quite a number of people were just, even when you engage them to let's discuss what are this man's position, what are his credentials, they don't want to get into those arguments. All is just the sentiment that, okay, it must be an OB or it must be a Labour Party, Tinubu is not this, Tinubu, no. So those are the things that played out. Now, one community will still be very active. Talking about the Igbo community in Lagos, they will still be very active because already they are expressing it. Rumors have it that even the governorship candidate of LP has Igbo origin and his middle name is Chinedu. I don't know how true that is. I don't believe everything that is in Sudan. So that community will still be very active. Now, the Christian community will not be active in this respect. And remember, they consider a large major. Yes, a lot of them will still have the sentiment because of the Tinubu factor. But some only is also a Christian. So that community will not be very active as it was with respect to the presidential election. I'm not taking anything for chances, but it will not be that active as it was in the presidential election. Now, the young ones and those in the corporate world will also not be active with respect to the governorship election in terms of putting all their votes, all their eggs in one basket. Now, if you look at the areas where the LP win, we talk about areas that Ikoyi, like Etiosa. Are you saying that people in Etiosa today will consider a Gbadebo over a Sonwolu? It's not possible. No rational person will do that in that elite neighborhood. Now, if you look at places like, if you look at other places where they won, yes, it has a lot of Igbo communities. But again, there are also some very, very brilliant people that will make a decision based on personality of the people, even up to Ajiromi fellow local government area. So what I'm saying is, and then there are also low turnouts. There are low turnouts in areas where APC won. Look at a place like Lagos Island, a heavily populated constituency with 2 federal seats, and the turnout was so lower than what you have in Amuwodofi. So there are some of these areas. Look at even Ikorodu. a heavily populated area, the turnout was also low. Munshi turnout was also low. I'm not talking about Shomolu where I stay. So I'm sure that now that the APC has seen what happened in 2 weeks ago, they will go out to mobilize for their supporters to come out. There will be no apathy. How can a Lagos Island not deliver up to 300,000 votes? Lagos Island. I mean, a densely populated local government, which is one of the strongholds of the APC. How could Amu Wadofi, if you know that you deliver more votes than Lagos Island, than the Ekpe, than the Ikorodu, than Munshi? So these are some of the things that will have affected, and that's why I said I'm optimistic that those other factors will play. The Igbo community factor will play. The NSAS factor, yes, it might be active, but it will not take the dimension it took this time because, like I said, it's also a local politics. So, and then the Christian community, it will not take the dimension it took in February 25th that is going to take in March 11 because Sanwo-Olu is also part of that community. So, in all, I will see a strong fight. The fight is, and also don't forget, some of the votes that the LP got were PDP votes. Because Bode George and Co. were against the PDP establishment. Talking about the G5, I think they're more than G5 because Bode George is part of them. So, and of course, they made sure that PDP does not get votes. And the integrity group. So now that most of the votes that went to LP were PDP votes, the PDP man with Funke Akindele and Co. Funke will not want to be seen as a failure. He also has supporters, and those supporters voted for LP. So LP votes will certainly divide. And don't forget, like we keep saying, LP votes were mainly PDP votes. Mainly PDP votes. LP today is riding on the back of PDP votes, and it may be a new set of voters that was sensitized after the NSAS misadventure. So those are the votes. So the APC, the PDP will share their vote. The LP and PDP will share their vote in Lagos. While I see the APC increasing their vote share in Lagos, not to take anything for chance. I'm saying this advisedly, not to take anything for chance. Where they hold their secret meetings, their midnight meetings, they burn their midnight candles, they must reburn it and reburn it and reburn it. So that Lagos, that has been stable since 1999, Lagos has been stable progressively stable, with a good master plan that has spanned about 30 years master plan that is being executed by every successive administration. And Lagos is today the fifth largest economy in Africa and is still going up. Let's nobody take anything for chances so that Lagos does not slip back into states like Abia, to states like I I cannot even if I even talk about. So this is the chance. This is my message. While I am analyzing the fact that yes, there is prospect for the opportunity in Lagos State, don't take anything for chances, because that is when you take your opponent for chances, that's when you get disappointed, and that's what happened on February 25th. A lot of things are taking for chances. It's our traditional place. I remember the last election in Ghana, and John Mahama told them even the voter region that is our traditional base, we have treated them as nobody. So let's come back and know that we need to treat Lagos like Lagos, the way we have treated Lagos. And those things that happened, that made key supporters of APC in Lagos to have changed their mind, those things that happened, those exclusions, those lack of rewards, those things that happened that made APC in Lagos not to maintain their dominance, not to maintain their character, because a lot of protests were even from APC members because they felt they were excluded. They felt rewards were not adequately shared. Persons who didn't work got the reward than those who worked. So there was a lot. So those things must be checked and corrected on time. And going forward, there is a new threat. So going forward, every political party, especially APC in Lagos, must put their house in order, identify those who are their core supporters and who are those that can give them value. And if there's reward, Those people must get the first line of reward, not after victory. You got to bring all kinds of people from your brothers that are roaming around in Europe and America, and begin to give them opportunities in Lagos, and then to the detriment of those who have sacrificed their life in Lagos. I think that is the wrong part of APC in Lagos, and that is even what happened to this country, to this government of President Muhammadu Buhari. People that worked assiduously for the government, people that labored and put their life on the line, had family disputes, quarreled with their friends, for this government, were never seen or even recognized. Some of them are there, and that is why a lot of people turn their back against the APC and Buhari, not because the government didn't perform. If there's performance in government, I think the Buhari administration will be ranked higher than any other government since our democratic structure. But because of the fact that there were bad negative publicity from persons who worked for the government and were not rewarded and were not even recognized, there are so many of them who are not recognized. Only few of us stayed back and continue to do what we know because we believe that is what is there. A lot of people turn back, and today they are targets of this government. So, and that should not happen in Lagos. And that happened in Lagos in this last administration. But because people are progressively glued to the Lagos project, a lot of us stayed and continue are going to take the heat on behalf of the government, continue to propagate the government, continue to sell the government, continue to make sure that we put our own lives, put our own character, put our own jobs on the line for this administration.
All right.
We'll keep doing it. That people will keep doing it. But again, there must be caution in how things are distributed, spoils of war are distributed, and offices are distributed, so that people that really worked and continue to work are recognized, identified, recognized, and be meant to be part of the system. Okay.
All right, Dr. Yakubu, let me bring you in here. Some states are considered to be battleground states because of what a lot of people are seeing as a clash between the ruling party in the state and the power of the opposition coming on board. A state like Adamawa, for instance, or even a state like Benue, for instance, and southeast states where we see the wave of Labour Party and how the patterns are changing. The wind is political wind is blowing. What do you see going forward in that kind of a clash where some of these states will be battlegrounds?
Yes, of course. The election cannot be easily predicted, actually. But I think that there is a lot to be done by those parties in power in those states to retain power. Like Alisa said, you know, a lot of party members were disgruntled, and there's even tendencies of being anti-party if they are not, assured of being carried along. In the future after this election. So the way the G5 governors exhibited or presented their anger and withdrew their support to their party, that could be similar situation could also play out. So it behoves on the ruling party there, parties rather, in those states, to do the needful to carry their members along, to also try to mobilize more voters so that they can retain power. On the part of the opposition, they too must win the heart of the voters in those states, for them to be able to purchase most of the voters, even the traditional voters. I know, as we know, there are some voters that are traditionally for a particular party, so they have to do. They have a lot to do to win them to their side, so that they can win the election. This said, however, like I said earlier, and like Alistair adumbrated, governorship election is a local election actually, and there could be a lot of factors different from that of the presidential election that may determine the outcome of the local the gubernatorial election. The relationship of the politicians and the ruling party with the people matters a lot. The relationship with the, some opinion molders such as imams and pastors and the traditional rulers, even the academicians in the respective states will contribute a lot in determining where the pendulum will swing. I think we are racing against time. The call I will make now to Nigerians is for them to come out en masse on the 11th of March to cast their vote, to decide for themselves and for their children, to decide who will lead them in the next 4 years, to decide, because this is very important. Election is one of the most important things in any democratic state, because you choose someone. If you make a mistake, then you will be there with him, glued with him, for the next 4 years. And 4 years, if you have bad policy decisions, then and bad governance, 4 years will take any society or any state in Nigeria back more than 50 years back. So people have to be wise. People have to know that they have responsibility to themselves and to their children and even grandchildren for them to come out en masse and vote. They should not be allowed to be, to be carried away by the sentiments some politicians and some parties are actually, selling out now that the presidential election was rigged. Actually, to my own experience with the last election and previous elections, I think Nigeria has not had a very clean and credible election since the June 12th, like this election. Like I said previously, a lot of factors helped. In achieving that, the introduction of technology by INEC, which actually limited, which actually ensured that only citizens that were registered were accredited, and then that also ensured that only accredited voters were able to vote, because overvoting can easily be detected if the ballot papers are more than the number of voters accredited. And you can always ascertain how many voters were accredited by just going back and checking the beavers. The actual number of voters accredited will show there. And the total number of vote cast must also tally with the total number of voters accredited. So there was no room for rigging the election. Even the system introduced now by INEC because before there will be accreditation, then later on voters will come back and vote. So you see that previously some voters will never come back and vote. So give you room for politicians to rig the election. Yes.
Now. All right. We need to wrap things up
here
now. Our time is up. Right. I know there's so much you want to say, but our time is up. We must thank you, Head of the Department, Public and International Law, Nile University, Dr. Sirajo Yakubu, as well as Public Affairs Analyst, Alester Wilcox, for your time on the program. Thank you, gentlemen.